The doorbell rang at 2:07 a.m., cutting straight through the silence like it was slicing open my chest. I froze in the hallway, the leftover birthday candles still sitting in their little paper box on the kitchen counter. The cake my son and I decorated only hours earlier was still untouched. Pink frosting, gold sprinkles, his little crooked handwriting that said, "Happy birthday, Mommy." He fell asleep on the sofa waiting for his father. I didn't. When the bell rang again, longer, heavier, I knew it was him, my husband, the man who promised he'd be home early, the man who said he had something special planned, the man who didn't answer a single call from 6 p.m. to the moment that bell ripped my heart awake. I opened the door, and there he was, my husband, Carter, 33 years old, 6 feet of dead-weight masculinity slumped against the doorframe, eyes bloodshot, breath fogging in the cold night air. He tried to stand straight like he was sober, but his knees buckled. His shirt was wrinkled, halfway unbuttoned, and stained with something I didn't want to recognize. Not yet. "Baby, hey, I'm here," he slurred, blinking slow like the world was underwater. I didn't say a word. He collapsed forward and I caught him under the arms, nearly falling backward from his weight. He put his head on my shoulder, and that's when I smelled it. Not alcohol, not cigarettes, not sweat, but perfume. Not mine, something floral, expensive, the kind that lingers on skin only after being pressed against someone for hours, the kind that sinks into the collar of a shirt when someone has been pressed up against it. My throat tightened. I kept holding him because my son was asleep on the couch, and I refused to let that child see his father like this. I dragged Carter toward the bedroom, each step hauling not just his body weight, but the weight of the lies I hadn't yet looked at directly. His hand brushed my hip. Whether intentional or sloppy, I didn't care. "Had long day," he mumbled. My voice didn't sound like mine. I pushed the bedroom door open with my foot, laid him on the bed, and stood there staring at him. He snored almost instantly like he hadn't just destroyed my birthday, my evening, my trust. His wedding ring was on backward, his shirt buttoned wrong, his zipper halfway undone, and that perfume, that damn perfume. I stepped out of the room and shut the door softly. My chest felt too tight to breathe, my hand shaking as I grabbed the edge of the hallway table just to stay upright. For a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, I was jumping to conclusions. But my heart knew. My heart always knew him better than he knew himself. I walked outside into the cold night air, needing space, needing truth. The porch light flickered above me as if the universe itself was holding its breath. His car sat crooked in the driveway, engine still warm. Something in me whispered, "Look." I didn't want to, God knows I didn't, but betrayal has a scent, and once you smell it, your spirit demands proof. I opened the passenger door. For a first, I couldn't breathe. Then I couldn't feel. Then I couldn't think, because right there in the seat, a woman's blouse, lacy, red, torn at the strap, and next to it, a pair of heels, black, glittering, still carrying the warmth of someone's feet, and under the seat, half hidden like guilt, a single gold earring, not mine, not even close. The world tilted, my knees buckled, but I caught myself on the frame of the car door. My vision blurred, not from tears, but from the kind of heartbreak that feels like a physical wound. He didn't just come home late. He didn't just forget my birthday. He didn't just leave me and our son waiting. He ruined me, humiliated me, chose someone else over our family on the one night I wanted to feel celebrated. A trembling breath escaped my lips. Then my tears came. Not soft, not gentle, not tonight. They fell in hot, angry drops that hit the driveway like sparks. because something inside me snapped. Not the part that loved him, not the part that trusted him, not even the part that hoped he was better than this. No, what broke was the part of me that tolerated disrespect as if it were normal, the part that forgave too quickly, the part that swallowed disappointment and called it loyalty. That part died in the driveway, right there next to those heels and that blouse. I closed the car door slowly, wiping my face with the back of my hand. My son slept peacefully inside. My husband slept like a man who believed I wouldn't do anything. But I am not the same woman who waited on that couch for hours. I am not the woman who cried over an unanswered phone. I am not the woman who will let betrayal sit quietly in her chest. Not anymore. I turned toward the house, the night suddenly colder, sharper. My heart didn't feel broken. It felt ready. Because this was the beginning, and Carter had no idea what kind of revenge a 29-year-old black woman could unleash when she's done being disrespected. He thought heartbreak would weaken me. He didn't know heartbreak was my gasoline, and I was already catching fire. I didn't sleep, not even after I tucked my son under his blanket, not after I washed my face, not after I stared at myself in the dark bathroom mirror, wondering how long I'd been living beside a man who thought so little of me. The house felt heavy, full of lies, stale perfume, and the ghost of a birthday that never happened. At 5:17 a.m., just before the sun even considered rising, Carter stumbled into the kitchen. His hair was sticking up in every direction, his shirt still unbuttoned, his lips dry, eyes bloodshot. He looked like a man trying to remember his own name, but still, he had the nerve to smile. "Morning, babe," he said, voice cracked, acting like he didn't walk into my life last night dripping in another woman's scent, like he didn't kill something sacred. "Morning," I replied, sliding a cup of water toward him. My voice was calm, too calm. That made him pause. He blinked, trying to read me. "You okay?" he asked, rubbing the back of his neck. "Are you?" I countered. He chuckled, trying to shake the tension. Yeah, just had a long day. You know how it is." I just looked at him. His eyes darted away, guilt flickering like a shadow passing over his face. He reached for the cabinet to grab a painkiller, and as his arm lifted, his shirt pulled up just enough for me to see faint lipstick on his waistband. Red, matching the red blouse in the car. My throat burned, but my eyes didn't water. Not anymore. "Where were you last night?" I asked softly. He froze, his back tensed, shoulders locked, fingers stilled over the cabinet handle. He didn't turn around when he answered. "Work stuff." My voice was low, but sharp. "At 2 in the morning?" He finally faced me, wearing that fake confusion I'd seen before, back when he lied about money, lied about poker nights, lied about that coworker who kept texting at midnight. "Yeah," he said too quickly. "Emergency meeting, couldn't answer the phone." I leaned against the counter, folding my arms. "You smell like perfume." His stomach dropped. I saw it. His face went pale, then flushed, then tried to settle somewhere between. "Tat was from the bar," he stammered. "This woman spilled—" "There's a blouse in the car," I cut in. He completely stopped breathing. "And heels," I added. His eyes widened. "And an earring." For a moment, Carter wasn't a man. He was a glitch in a system, mouth opening, closing, opening again, searching for a lie big enough to cover the truth. I watched him panic slither for words. "Aisha, you went through my car?" I straightened slowly. "No," I said. "I opened the door." My clarity made him nervous. He wasn't used to me being still. He was used to tears, questions, confusion, emotions he could manipulate. This wasn't that. "Aisha, listen," he started. "No," I said again, calm and deadly. You listen." He swallowed hard. My son's soft footsteps padded down the hall. He appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, hair messy, still wearing the little birthday hat he refused to take off last night. "Mommy?" My heart cracked in half. Carter turned toward him like he suddenly remembered he had a child. "Hey, champ." I stepped between them so fast Carter blinked. Not today, not after last night. "Baby, go get ready for school. Mommy will make breakfast soon." He nodded sleepily and disappeared back down the hall. Carter watched me like he was seeing a stranger. "You're acting weird," he muttered. "No," I said, "I'm acting grown." He opened his mouth to respond, but his phone buzzed on the counter. Once, twice, 3 times. He snatched it up before I could even glance at the screen, but what he didn't realize was that I didn't need to see the name. I could tell by the way his entire body tensed. "Work," he said too quickly, sliding the phone into his pocket. I tilted my head. "The same work that leaves lingerie in your car?" He flinched like I slapped him. "Aisha," he hissed, lowering his voice, "don't start." I stepped closer, unblinking. "I haven't even begun." His jaw dropped slightly. He searched my face for emotion, for softness, for an opening to slither through. I found none. "You can't talk to me like that," he said, voice trembling with anger. "I can talk to you however I want in the home I maintain while you're out embarrassing your family." That shut him up. He grabbed the counter edge like he needed support. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand plenty." "No, you don't. She just needed a ride home. She left her stuff in the car on accident. I didn't even realize." "Don't insult me." He closed his eyes. "Aisha, please." Something about that "please" made my stomach turn. It wasn't remorse. It was fear. Fear of losing control, fear of losing the version of me who forgave him out of habit, fear of losing the woman who cried while he pretended. I walked past him to the sink, rinsing out a cup. He turned toward me again. "Baby, can we talk tonight, properly?" "No." His head snapped up. "What do you mean, no?" "You don't get to choose the time or the tone anymore," I said, wiping my hands slowly. "That ended last night." He blinked, stunned. Before he could speak again, someone knocked on the front door. Once, twice, sharp, purposeful knocks. Carter stiffened. "I'm not expecting anyone," he whispered. "I am," I said. His face contorted in confusion. I moved past him, heart steady, mind clear, spirit unshaken. When I opened the front door, Carter's world cracked down the middle, because standing there, tall, composed, confident, was Malcolm Davis, my childhood friend turned attorney. African-American, 35, successful, sharp, the man Carter always felt threatened by. And Malcolm smiled gently at me before glancing past my shoulder. "Morning, Aisha," he said. "You ready to handle this?" I nodded, then stepped aside, letting him in. Carter stumbled backward. What is he doing here?" I closed the door calmly behind me. "Helping me," I said, and the look on Carter's face, priceless, because that was the moment he realized something he never imagined. This time, he wasn't the only one with a plan. Carter stood there, chest rising and falling too fast, like the air in the room had suddenly turned poisonous. His eyes jumped between me and Malcolm, trying to decide which one of us was the bigger threat. Spoiler, it was me. Malcolm gave him a professional nod, polite but cold enough to frost over steel. He carried a leather folder under his arm, his suit crisp, his expression unreadable, the kind of man who walked into a room and shifted its center of gravity. "Morning, Carter," Malcolm said evenly. Carter swallowed hard. "Why are you in my house?" Malcolm arched a brow. "She invited me." The words landed like a punch. Carter's mouth tightened as he looked at me. "In front of my son?" he whispered sharply. "You're bringing lawyers into our home? Are you trying to embarrass me?" I stepped forward slowly. "No," I said. "You embarrassed yourself last night." His eyes flinched. I could see it, the fear, the confusion, the dawning sense that whatever version of me he'd manipulated all these years, she was gone. "Let's sit," Malcolm said calmly, already pulling out a chair at the dining table. "I think it's best we handle this before emotions escalate." Carter scoffed. "I'm not sitting in my own damn house while you two—" "Sit," Malcolm repeated, his voice dropping just enough to make it a command. Even I felt that one, and Carter, who loved being the loudest man in the room, sat down. Malcolm placed the folder on the table, clicking it open. Crisp papers rustled, pen glided into his hand. It all looked so procedural, so official, so final. Carter watched with clenched fists. "What is this?" he asked, voice cracking. "Documentation," Malcolm replied smoothly, "for Aisha's legal protections moving forward." "Protections?" Carter stiffened. "Protections from what?" "From you." The silence was thick, deadly, like the house itself held its breath. Carter's voice trembled as he looked at me again. "Aisha? What are you doing?" I pulled out the chair opposite him and sat. My hands didn't shake, my voice didn't waver. "I'm taking control." He blinked slowly, as if trying to reboot his brain. I don't understand. Why lawyer up? Why all this? I told you last night was a mistake." "Did you?" I asked, because I don't remember hearing anything over the perfume. His jaw tightened so hard the muscle trembled. Malcolm slid a paper forward. "And this," he continued, "is a notice that all joint bank access has been frozen pending review. Aisha now has sole access to the emergency fund she built." The blood drained from Carter's face. "You froze the accounts?" he hissed. "No," I corrected gently. "I froze myself out of your mess." He stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman sitting across from him. Good. Let the confusion suffocate him. Malcolm added, "Furthermore, until the investigation into financial misconduct is complete—" "Investigation?" he choked. "What investigation?" I locked eyes with him. "The one Malcolm is opening." He blinked rapidly. "Aisha, what the hell are you telling him?" "The truth," I said simply. Malcolm closed the folder. "Carter, I advise you not to raise your voice or attempt to leave before this conversation is concluded. Everything that happens from the moment I walked through that door is legally documented." His breath hitched. He leaned back, rubbing his temple furiously. "This is insane. All of this over some clothes in a car?" I exhaled slowly. Finally, the opening. "Let's talk about those clothes." He stiffened. Malcolm folded his hands. "Yes, Carter, let's." Carter swallowed visibly. "I told you she needed a ride. That's it. She left her stuff." "Who is she?" Malcolm asked. Carter opened his mouth. And nothing came out. Not a syllable, not a half lie, not a name. Just silence. I smiled, just a little, just enough for him to notice. "Thought so." Carter's complexion shifted a shade lighter. "You can't just assume. You came home at 2 a.m. drunk with your shirt unbuttoned and someone else's perfume all over you. That wasn't an assumption. That was evidence." He trembled. And then, like a pathetic cherry on the betrayal sundae, his phone buzzed in his pocket again. Once, twice, persistent. He froze. Malcolm arched a brow. "You should answer it." Carter shook his head a little too hard. "No, it's nobody." "Then answer it," I said softly. His eyes darted anywhere but our faces. "Carter," Malcolm said calmly, "if you decline that call, you are confirming infidelity in front of counsel." Carter's lip twitched. His fingers hovered. Buzz. Buzz. He finally pulled the phone out. And of course, the screen lit up with her name, Brianna Kiss. Malcolm leaned back, satisfied. Thank you. Carter's soul left his body. He turned slowly toward me, voice trembling with desperation. Aisha, it's not what you think. Save it, I said. I'm done trying to understand a man who refuses to understand what respect looks like. He stood too, reaching for me. Baby, please. Malcolm moved between us like a wall. Back up. Carter glared at him. She's my wife. Malcolm didn't blink. And this is her boundary. Carter's jaw clenched, but he stepped back. I looked him dead in the eyes. You ruined my birthday. You lied to me. You humiliated me. You broke our son's heart, and you treated our family like an inconvenience. A tear slipped down his cheek. Not regret, but fear. So here's what's happening next, I said. Malcolm opened the folder again, and I watched Carter's entire world collapse as he read the headline. Emergency Custody Review Recommendation. He staggered back like he'd been punched. No, Aisha, please, not this. Don't take my son. I tilted my head. You should have thought about him last night. He crumbled into the chair, hands over his face, sobbing. But I didn't flinch. I didn't tremble. I didn't break. Because something powerful settled inside me. Clarity, strength, a fire I knew would only grow. Malcolm stepped beside me, voice low and steady. Ready for the next step? I nodded once. Yes, because Carter wasn't the only liar in this house, and part of me could already tell Brianna wasn't his only secret. Carter didn't move for a long moment. His shoulders shook, his palms pressed into his eyes, and the sound that escaped him wasn't grief, it was panic, the kind that comes from realizing the leash he kept around my neck had finally snapped, and I was the one holding the broken end. I watched him, not with pity, not with fear, but with a clarity that felt like stepping into sunlight after years in a dim room. He finally lifted his head, eyes red, and whispered, Aisha, don't do this, please. Malcolm closed the folder calmly. You did this, he reminded him. She's simply responding. Carter looked at Malcolm like he wanted to swing, but even he wasn't dumb enough to catch an assault charge before breakfast. My son's footsteps echoed again. He peeked out from the hallway, small face sleepy and confused. Mommy, is everything okay? Carter flinched like he'd been burned. I walked toward my son and knelt so we were eye to eye. Everything's fine, baby. Just grown-up stuff. Go put your shoes on, okay? I'll drive you today. He nodded and disappeared again. Carter whispered, You're trying to take him from me. I turned to him slowly. No, you're losing him all on your own. His breath hitched. Malcolm slipped the signed preliminary boundary document into a sleeve. Next portion, he said, is the disclosure conversation. Carter blinked. The what? The part where Aisha asks you direct questions and you answer them truthfully for the record, or you lie and build a case against yourself. Either way, we win. I raised a brow at him. You really like the dramatics, don't you? He smirked slightly. I'm efficient. Carter slammed his hand down again. I am not doing this. I don't have to sit here and be interrogated in my own house. Malcolm didn't even look up. You do if you want any chance of rebuilding trust. That landed hard. Carter sat back down. Good boy. I slid into my chair again, folding my hands neatly. My voice came out smooth, almost too even. Who is Brianna? He licked his lips. His eyes darted anywhere but my face. A friend. Is she also the owner of the red lace blouse in your car? Silence. Malcolm clicked a pen, poised to write. Answer. Carter swallowed. I don't know. You don't know whose clothes are in your front seat? Look, I gave her a ride, okay? That's it. She was drunk. She needed help. You were drunk. He tensed. And you didn't come straight home, I added. He exhaled. Okay, fine. We stopped at the beach. She needed to calm down. Did you calm down too? I asked. His jaw flexed so hard it shook. Aisha, don't, please. His voice cracked again, this time with something close to desperation. I messed up. I know I messed up, but I didn't sleep with her. I stared at him, at the perfume dried on his skin, at the lipstick on his waistband, at the clothes in his car, at the way he hid his phone like it contained the map to his lies. And suddenly, I felt nothing. Not pain, not even rage, just vacancy. Malcolm looked at him and said, "For the record, clarify whether you engaged in sexual activity with—" "I said no," Carter snapped. Malcolm tilted his head. "Good, then you won't mind proving it." Carter's voice cracked. What? Malcolm pulled out a sealed envelope. "This is authorization for a fidelity test." Carter blinked rapidly. "A what?" "A routine screening to confirm your statement. Aisha will take one as well." I nodded. "Gladly." Carter's throat bobbed. "Are you serious? Aisha, this is crazy. We're married. You don't need—" "I needed honesty," I said. "You gave me perfume and lingerie." He sagged backwards. Malcolm stood. "If you refuse testing, we'll simply document non-cooperation. Judges love that in custody hearings." Carter's face contorted with fear. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then the doorbell rang again. Carter jumped at the sound. Malcolm checked his watch. "Right on time," he murmured. I walked to the door, opening it confidently. On the porch stood two uniformed officers. Carter stumbled to his feet. "Why are the police here?" My voice was calm. "Because Malcolm filed for a wellness check on me and our son." Carter's face twisted. "A wellness check for what?" "1, you came home intoxicated. 2, Aisha had reasonable suspicion of infidelity and unsafe behavior. 3, your car was parked illegally in the driveway and neighbors reported screaming at 2 a.m. Carter turned beet red. "I wasn't screaming." "I was," I said softly. He blinked, stunned. "You what?" The neighbors weren't the only ones who could weaponize truth. The officers spoke. "We need to confirm the safety of the child." Carter whipped toward them. "I would never hurt my son." One officer nodded. "We're here to confirm that. May we check the home?" I stepped aside. "Of course." Carter looked like the world was folding in on him. The officers walked through the hallway, greeting my son kindly before stepping into the living room. Carter's panic boiled over. "Aisha, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to make me look like some monster?" I turned to him, eyes steady. "You don't need help looking like one." He stared at me, chest heaving. Malcolm tapped the table. "Carter, sit. You're making this worse." He didn't sit. Instead, he backed toward the wall like a cornered animal. "This is all because you think I cheated. You don't even know." I stepped closer. "I know enough." "You don't know anything." His voice cracked with fury. "You don't know what I've been dealing with. You don't know—" He stopped because something slipped, something he didn't mean to say. Malcolm caught it immediately. "What exactly have you been dealing with, Carter?" His jaw clenched. I stepped closer. "Yeah, what are you hiding?" His eyes darted wildly, sweat forming at his forehead. "You're not the only one who can sniff out secrets." Carter's face broke. "Aisha, please don't do this." I leaned forward. Too late. And in that exact moment, the officer returned to the hallway holding something in his hand. A small plastic bag. Inside it, a woman's bracelet. Not mine, not Brianna's, unless she had dozens. The officer frowned. "We found this under the couch. Is this yours?" Carter went pale. I looked at him. Slow, deliberate. I didn't have to say the words out loud, but they screamed between us. "There's more."
and I will find every piece of it."
The officer held the bracelet out between two gloved fingers, and the whole room shifted. The air thickened. Carter's breath stuttered in his chest. My heartbeat slowed, steady, heavy, deliberate, because I knew right then we had crossed into a different kind of truth. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a pattern, and patterns always have roots. I asked, the officer repeated gently, "if this belongs to you." I shook my head without breaking eye contact with Carter. "No, I've never seen it." Carter's throat bobbed. The officer turned to him next. "Sir?" He hesitated a fraction too long. I don't know whose it is." The officer nodded slowly, his eyes narrowing just enough to show suspicion had finally entered the room. Malcolm leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms, studying Carter like a researcher observing a dying animal. "Interesting." Carter snapped. "What? What's interesting?" "That you keep finding yourself surrounded by items that don't belong to your wife." Carter's face twisted. The officer bagged the bracelet and stepped aside. "We need to finish our walkthrough," he said. "We'll let you know if we find anything else." Carter nearly choked. "Anything else?" I could see the panic unspooling in him. He was unraveling thread by thread, and the more he pulled, the more he trapped himself. The officers moved down the hall. My son peeked out again, curiosity coloring his little face. I closed his door gently, kissing his forehead. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's got everything handled." When I returned to the dining room, Carter was pacing like a man caught in a shrinking cage. "Aisha, listen," he said, voice hoarse. "Whatever you think, whatever you're imagining, it's not that serious." "Not that serious?" I repeated, folding my arms. "You want to try that line again?" He dragged his hands down his face. "The bracelet, it's not what it looks like." "Then what is it?" Malcolm asked, every syllable sharp as a blade. I don't know," Carter sputtered. "Maybe Brianna left it." "You said you didn't know whose it was," Malcolm reminded him. Carter froze, caught. I felt something shift inside me, not satisfaction, not victory, just confirmation of what I already knew. A man who lies behind closed doors will lie anywhere he thinks he can get away with it. Malcolm opened his folder again. "Let's move forward. Aisha, you may proceed with your next question." I didn't sit. I needed to stand for this part. "When did the affair with Brianna start?" I asked. Carter's head snapped up. "There is no affair." "So you just collect women's clothing like souvenirs," I shot back. He winced, his eyes fluttering shut. "Aisha, please." "Answer," Malcolm said. He hesitated. His shoulders sagged. "I met her a couple months ago, after work, just talking, nothing more." Talking, the way cheating is called miscommunication, the way lies become mistakes. I didn't flinch. "And the bracelet?" I asked. "I told you, I don't know." A crack formed in his voice, not a small one, a deep, terrified fracture. Malcolm turned one page in his folder. "Aisha, please list any additional observations from last night." I nodded, lifting my chin. He came home unbuttoned. He smelled like a woman's perfume. His zipper was undone. He was drunk. His phone notifications were hidden. Malcolm looked pleased. "Documented." Carter shook his head violently. "You're making me sound like some monster." I stepped closer, my voice dropping to something dangerous. "You're making you sound like one." He swallowed, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "Aisha, you can't just throw our whole marriage away." I tilted my head. "You threw it first." His knees seemed to wobble, but he still hadn't hit bottom. Not yet. One of the officers returned, holding a second evidence bag. "Aisha," he said gently, "we found this in the laundry room behind the dryer." I looked so hard the world blurred around it. Inside the bag was another piece of clothing, a silky black robe, monogrammed,
with a name embroidered in gold thread, BRI. Carter made a sound, somewhere between a gasp and a plea, and reached for the bag. The officer pulled it back. "Sir, don't touch." I stared at the robe. He stared at me. Malcolm exhaled, the tiniest smile forming. "Well, that clarifies things." Carter shook his head so hard he looked dizzy. "No, no, no, this is not what it looks like." I leaned forward, my voice a soft blade. "Then what is it?" I don't know," he sputtered. "Maybe she left it." "You said you didn't know whose it was," Malcolm reminded him. Carter froze, caught. I felt something shift inside me, not satisfaction, not victory, just confirmation of what I already knew. A man who lies behind closed doors will lie anywhere he thinks he can get away with it. Malcolm opened his folder again. "Let's move forward. Aisha, you may proceed with your next question." I didn't sit. I needed to stand for this part. "When did the affair with Brianna start?" I asked. Carter's head snapped up. "There is no affair." "So you just collect women's clothing like souvenirs?" I shot back. He winced, his eyes fluttering shut. "Aisha, please." "Answer," Malcolm said. He hesitated, his shoulders sagged. "I met her a couple months ago, after work, just talking, nothing more." Talking, the way cheating is called miscommunication, the way lies become mistakes. I didn't flinch. "And the bracelet?" I asked. "I told you, I don't know." A crack formed in his voice, not a small one, a deep, terrified fracture. Malcolm turned one page in his folder. "Aisha, please list any additional observations from last night." I nodded, lifting my chin. He came home unbuttoned. He smelled like a woman's perfume. His zipper was undone. He was drunk. His phone notifications were hidden. Malcolm looked pleased. "Documented." Carter shook his head violently. "You're making me sound like some monster." I stepped closer, my voice dropping to something dangerous. "You're making you sound like one." He swallowed, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "Aisha, you can't just throw our whole marriage away." I tilted my head. "You threw it first." His knees seemed to wobble, but he still hadn't hit bottom. Not yet. One of the officers returned, holding a second evidence bag. "Aisha," he said gently, "we found this in the laundry room behind the dryer." I looked so hard the world blurred around it. Inside the bag was another piece of clothing, a silky black robe, monogrammed, with a name embroidered in gold thread, BRI. Carter made a sound, somewhere between a gasp and a plea, and reached for the bag. The officer pulled it back. "Sir, don't touch." I stared at the robe. He stared at me. Malcolm exhaled, the tiniest smile forming. "Well, that clarifies things." Carter shook his head so hard he looked dizzy. "No, no, no, this is not what it looks like." I leaned forward, my voice a soft blade. "Then what is it?" I don't know," he sputtered. "Maybe she left it." "You said you didn't know whose it was," Malcolm reminded him. Carter froze, caught. I felt something shift inside me, not satisfaction, not victory, just confirmation of what I already knew. A man who lies behind closed doors will lie anywhere he thinks he can get away with it. Malcolm opened his folder again. "Let's move forward. Aisha, you may proceed with your next question." I didn't sit. I needed to stand for this part. "When did the affair with Brianna start?" I asked. Carter's head snapped up. "There is no affair." "So you just collect women's clothing like souvenirs?" I shot back. He winced, his eyes fluttering shut. "Aisha, please." "Answer," Malcolm said. He hesitated, his shoulders sagged. "I met her a couple months ago, after work, just talking, nothing more." Talking, the way cheating is called miscommunication, the way lies become mistakes. I didn't flinch. "And the bracelet?" I asked. "I told you, I don't know." A crack formed in his voice, not a small one, a deep, terrified fracture. Malcolm turned one page in his folder. Aisha, please list any additional observations from last night. I nodded, lifting my chin. He came home unbuttoned. He smelled like a woman's perfume. His zipper was undone. He was drunk. His phone notifications were hidden. Malcolm looked pleased. Documented. Carter shook his head violently. You're making me sound like some monster. I stepped closer, my voice dropping to something dangerous. You're making you sound like one. He swallowed, his eyes shining with unshed tears. Aisha, you can't just throw our whole marriage away. I tilted my head. You threw it first. His knees seemed to wobble, but he still hadn't hit bottom. Not yet. One of the officers returned, holding a second evidence bag. Aisha, he said gently, we found this in the laundry room behind the dryer.
Carter didn't speak for a long time. He just stared at the robe in the officer's hand like it was some cursed artifact that had materialized out of thin air. But I knew the truth. Nothing in this house appeared magically. Not perfume, not clothes, not bruised egos or broken trust. Everything was placed here by a choice he made, and choices have consequences. The officers stepped away to finalize their report, and the moment the hallway cleared, Carter lunged toward me, not to touch me, but to get close, desperate, shaking. Aisha, don't do this, he whispered. Don't ruin us. I stepped back. I didn't ruin a thing. You and your robe collection did that all on your own. His face crumpled in frustration. You're not listening. I told you she just needed help. Is that what we're calling it now? House visits, laundry days, midnight beach therapy sessions? Aisha, stop, he yelled, and Malcolm immediately stepped between us like a steel wall. Watch your volume, Malcolm warned, or I'll file for temporary restraining order today instead of tomorrow. Carter shut his mouth so fast his teeth clicked. Malcolm turned slightly, positioning himself so Carter couldn't take a single step closer to me. Aisha, why don't you gather what you need for the day while I finish outlining next steps with him? I nodded, but I didn't move just yet. I wasn't done. Carter, I said quietly, why was her robe behind the dryer? He blinked, panic flashing. I don't know. Maybe she put it there. She washed clothes here, I said, not asked, stated. He bit his lip so hard it turned white. His voice wavered. I didn't mean for any of this. Funny, Malcolm murmured. Most affairs aren't accidents. Carter glared at him. Mind your business. It is my business, Malcolm replied calmly. Your wife hired me. Carter swallowed hard. You're trying to take everything from me. I stepped forward. No, I'm trying to reclaim what you took from me long before Brianna ever walked into this house. He frowned. What did I take? I laughed softly, bitterly. My peace, my sleep, my trust, my self-worth, my dignity, my excitement for birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. You drained every celebration dry. Carter staggered as though the words physically struck him. My hand tightened on the chair. I took my son's innocence last night when he asked why Daddy didn't come home to cut the cake. Do you even understand that? His lips trembled. I messed up. Messed up, I repeated, tasting the words. You call this a mess? I gestured at the robe, the bracelet, the unexplained perfume, the phone notifications I wasn't allowed to see, the midnight return, the lies. You don't even know how deep your own damage goes. Carter pressed his palms into his face. Aisha, I don't want to lose you. I lost you months ago, I said quietly. You just didn't notice. A knock on the wall startled us. It was one of the officers returning. Ma'am, could we speak with you privately? I nodded and followed him to the living room. He lowered his voice. We found something else, behind the couch cushion. My stomach dropped. He held out another small evidence bag. Inside was a lip gloss.
A nude shade, one I've seen before, one Brianna wears on her Instagram photos. The officer continued, "It appears someone spent time in your living room." Someone, not Carter. Someone who felt comfortable enough to leave makeup behind. Someone who didn't wipe their tracks clean. Someone who thought I'd never look closely enough to find it. I got still as my birthday cake on the counter, as still as my son sleeping alone on the sofa, as still as the moment I opened that car door and everything inside me cracked. "Thank you," I whispered. The officer nodded and stepped away. When I returned to the kitchen, Carter looked up with hollow eyes. "What now?" he whispered. I placed the lip gloss on the table in front of him. He stared at it like it was a detonator. Malcolm raised a brow. "Another one?" I nodded. "In the living room." Malcolm whistled quietly. "Careless." Carter buried his face in his hands. "She must have dropped it. I swear, Aisha, I swear." "You swore wows. Look how those turned out." Malcolm cleared his throat. "We're proceeding with emergency separation, but before we leave, Aisha, I need to confirm your next steps. Are you choosing temporary relocation?" Carter looked up sharply. "What? No, she's not leaving this house." I stared him down. "Watch me." He shook his head violently. "Aisha, please, you're overreacting." "Overreacting?" My voice rose for the first time. "I spent my birthday waiting for a man who was washing another woman's robe in my home." Silence. Raw. Cutting. Malcolm stepped beside me. "We'll leave in 20 minutes. Carter slumped on the chair, shaking. "Aisha," he whispered, tears streaming now, "if you leave, we might not come back from this." I inhaled slowly, deeply, and for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. "I know," I said softly. "That's the point." As I walked down the hallway to gather my things, I heard Carter whisper behind me, voice cracked with dread. What did I do? And for a moment, just a moment, I almost answered him. But then I remembered the robe, the lipstick, the perfume, the midnight return, the lies. Instead, I grabbed my purse, lifted my chin, and whispered something to myself as truth settled inside me like steel. You did exactly what I needed you to do to show me who you really are. And the revenge that was forming in my heart? Oh, Carter wasn't ready. Malcolm waited in the doorway while I packed a small bag, just clothes for me and my son, our documents, his favorite toy car, and the leftover birthday candles I couldn't bring myself to throw away. Something about them felt symbolic, like I was carrying proof of the moment everything finally snapped into focus. When I returned to the living room, Carter was standing in the middle of it like a man who'd suddenly realized his house was built on sand. His eyes were swollen, his hands trembling, but even beneath the panic, he was calculating. I knew that look. I'd seen it whenever he got caught in a lie and needed to pivot fast. "Aisha," he said softly, "you're making a mistake." I tightened my grip on the bag. "The only mistake I made was thinking you'd treat me with the same loyalty I gave you." "I do love you," he insisted. "Loving someone isn't the same as choosing them," I replied. "And last night you chose her, again and again and again." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "You don't understand what she means to me." The moment the words left his mouth, he froze. Malcolm slowly raised his head. "Continue," he said, voice dangerously calm. Carter backpedaled so fast he nearly choked. I didn't mean that. I meant she doesn't mean anything. I swear, Aisha, she means nothing." I exhaled sharply. "People don't wash robes in houses where they mean nothing." He winced. The officer stepped in again. "Ma'am, we're ready to finalize the wellness report. Everything appears stable, but we recommend removal until legal boundaries are established." Carter's head snapped toward him. "Removal? What removal?"
Aisha and the child, the officer said, temporarily. Carter looked at me as if someone ripped his spine out. No, Aisha, don't take him. Please, please don't take our son. You should have been home to tuck him in, I replied. He collapsed into the nearest chair, burying his face in his hands. Part of me remembered loving this man. The other part remembered the perfume on his skin. Malcolm touched my elbow lightly. It's time. I nodded. I bent down and woke my son gently. Come on, sweetheart, we're going on a little trip. He rubbed his eyes. With Daddy too? I swallowed the ache. Not right now, baby. Carter let out a choked sob. Malcolm walked beside us as I took my son to the car. As I helped him into his booster seat, I felt Carter watching from the window, small, desperate, powerless for the first time in his life. When I closed the back door, Carter burst out the front door, stumbling toward us. Aisha, wait! Malcolm stepped in front of him like a shield. Stay back. Carter barked, This is my family. Malcolm didn't flinch. Then you should have acted like it. Carter's breathing grew ragged. This is your fault. You've always been jealous of what I have. Malcolm smirked. Jealous? Of you? My brother, you don't have anything. Carter lunged forward, but the officer intercepted him immediately. Sir, step back. Carter froze, chest heaving, his eyes shifting from rage to desperation to something almost childish. Aisha, he whispered, don't leave me. I met his gaze with a clarity I'd never had before. You already lost me. His face crumpled, but I opened the driver's door anyway. My fingers trembled on the steering wheel, not from fear, but from the weight of freedom finally touching my lungs. As I pulled out of the driveway, Carter pounded the hood with his hand. Aisha, you can't do this to me. I rolled the window down just enough for my voice to reach him. You did it to yourself. Malcolm's car followed behind us, ensuring Carter couldn't chase if he tried. Once we turned the corner, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. My son reached forward and touched my shoulder with his little hand. Mommy, he whispered, why's Daddy so sad? I swallowed. Because Daddy forgot how to love right. Oh, he nodded slowly, accepting it with a simplicity only children have. The city blurred past as I drove. Streetlights flickered over my windshield. My phone buzzed on the console. 11 missed calls, 9 messages from Carter, 3 voice notes, all time-stamped within minutes. I didn't open them. I didn't need to. We arrived at a secure townhouse Malcolm arranged. Quiet street, gated entry, keypad access. Inside, the air felt different, safe, clean. Mine. After settling my son in the spare bedroom, Malcolm joined me in the living room. You did good today, he said softly. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I feel like I'm floating outside myself. That's what leaving a trauma bond feels like at first. I looked at him sharply. Is that what this was? He didn't hesitate. Absolutely. My throat tightened. How long have I been stuck? How long has he been making you feel small? The answer hit me before I even spoke it. Too long. Malcolm nodded. Then today was the first day of your real life. I sank onto the sofa, exhaustion finally flooding in. Malcolm sat too, eyes steady, voice low. And now, he said, we move to phase 2. I raised a brow. Phase 2. He slid a new folder on the coffee table. Inside was a background report. Not on me, not on Brianna, on Carter. My skin prickled as my eyes skimmed the first lines, because what I saw wasn't just infidelity, it was financial irregularities, deleted bank alerts, cash withdrawals, hidden transactions, multiple female names, and worse, one payment labeled BRI, apartment deposit. My stomach dropped. He's been supporting her, I whispered. For months, Malcolm confirmed, and that's not the worst of it. I looked up. Malcolm's expression darkened. He's been using your name to do it.
My breath froze. What do you mean? Malcolm opened his laptop and rotated it toward me. There on the screen, my name, my social security number, my credit line, my signature forged, used to open a credit card with nearly $18,000 spent on Brianna. My lips parted, my throat burned, a low ringing filled my ears. My husband hadn't just cheated, he'd stolen from me. Malcolm's voice lowered. Phase 2 is simple. I nodded faintly. Destroy him? A slow, calculated smile stretched across Malcolm's face. No, he said, you don't destroy him. He leaned in. You bury him. And for the first time since my ruined birthday, my chest didn't feel tight. It felt ready.
I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the red blouse, the robe behind the dryer, the perfume clinging to Carter's skin, and my name, my identity sitting inside that forged credit agreement like a hostage. By sunrise, the numbness had transformed into something far more dangerous. Clarity. I walked into the kitchen of the safe townhouse, my baggy sweatshirt hanging loose, hair tied up in a messy bun. Malcolm was already there, leaning against the counter with a mug of coffee. You didn't sleep, he said. I shook my head. You're not supposed to, he added, not when your entire life just split in half. I sat across from him. He used my name, Malcolm. Yes, he said simply. He did. For months. Yes. I blinked hard, jaw trembling. Why didn't I see it? He leaned forward. Because you trusted the wrong person. That's not stupidity, Aisha. That's loyalty given to a man who didn't deserve to hold it. I exhaled sharply. Ready for today? He asked. No, I admitted, but I'm not backing down. He smiled. Good, then we begin. Phase 2 started with phone calls. Lots of them. First, the bank's fraud department. I listened as Malcolm walked me through every step, his voice low and calm. State your name, confirm your identity, report the fraudulent activity, request full transaction logs. I followed everything, my voice surprisingly steady. When the representative confirmed the account had been opened 3 months ago in my name, not Carter's, I felt something inside me coil tight like a spring being pulled back. Do you want to proceed with an official fraud claim? The representative asked. Yes, I said, immediately. Next, the credit bureaus, then a freeze on both my credit files, then a digital audit of all purchases Carter made in the last 6 months. Each confirmation call was a knife carving his lies into plain sight. Malcolm watched me silently, letting me handle the calls myself. After the last one, he spoke. And now, he said, we tightened the noose. I raised a brow. What does that mean? He slid a folder across the table. Inside, a property lease. Signed by Carter, paid by Carter, for Brianna. 3 months of rent paid in cash withdrawals. My stomach clenched. He got her a place? Malcolm nodded. A furnished place. Using my money? That too, he said. I covered my mouth, shaking. It wasn't heartbreak this time, it was humiliation. All those nights he came home late, all those weekends he worked overtime, all those moments he told me I was overthinking. He was building a second life, a life where I was the ghost. I closed the folder slowly. What's next? A knock on the door made both of us look up. My heart stopped. But Malcolm's didn't. He stood calmly and checked the peephole. When he opened the door, my sister Lila walked in. Lila, 31, sharp, beautiful, loud, loving, and the only person besides Malcolm I trusted fully. Her caramel brown skin was glowing, her box braids pulled back into a sleek ponytail. Aisha! Oh my God! She breathed. She wrapped her arms around me so tightly I finally let myself exhale. I saw the live stream, she whispered. I came as soon as I could. Malcolm gave her a nod. Perfect. We need her today. Lila frowned. Need me? For what? I wiped my face. We're doing something today. Lila straightened, eyes narrowing with protective fire. Tell me whose tires I gotta slash. I actually laughed for the first time in days. Malcolm pulled out another folder. This, he said, is Brianna's address. Lila's eyebrows shot up. Oh, we're visiting the side chick today. I swallowed, adrenaline creeping in. Not to fight. No, Malcolm agreed. We don't need to fight. He tapped the folder lightly. We need information. Information? Lila repeated. About what? Malcolm looked me dead in the eyes. About what Carter promised her. My heart thudded. Promised her? I whispered. Oh, Aisha, men like Carter don't cheat quietly. They sell dreams, they overextend, they lie to everyone, mistresses included. Lila crossed her arms. And we're gonna make her talk. Malcolm shook his head. No, Aisha will. Aisha? I blinked. Me? He nodded. She won't talk to me, she won't talk to Lila, but she will talk to the woman she thought she replaced. Ice slid down my spine. Malcolm stood up. Get dressed. Lila clapped her hands. Ooh, this about to be good. But Malcolm wasn't done. And Aisha, he said. Yes? Bring the robe. 2 hours later, we were standing outside a sleek apartment complex. Brianna's unit was on the 3rd floor, overlooking a pool. The sun reflected off the water, making everything look deceptively peaceful. Lila squeezed my hand. Say the word, sis. I'm right behind you. Malcolm nodded. Don't force anything. Just ask questions. She'll fill the silence with the truth. I inhaled, exhaled, and walked to the door. My fingers hovered over the bell. I pressed it. A few seconds passed. Then the door opened, and she stood there. Brianna. Petite, light brown skin, glossy curls, brown eyes lined with guilt she was trying desperately to mask. A robe around her waist, the matching set to the one behind my dryer. Her eyes widened when she saw me, her mouth parting. Aisha? She knew who I was. That was all I needed to know. I lifted the evidence bag containing her robe. Mind if we talk? She stared at it, at me, then at Lila and Malcolm behind me. Her shoulders slumped. Yeah, I guess I should have expected this. I stepped inside her apartment. It smelled like vanilla candles. And my husband. This wasn't impulsive cheating. This wasn't an accident. This was a relationship. When we sat down, Malcolm motioned for me to lead, so I did. How long? I asked. Her eyes welled up. A year. My breath stopped. Lila gasped. Malcolm didn't move. A year? I repeated. She nodded. And Carter, her voice cracked, he promised me something. What? I whispered. She swallowed hard. He promised he was going to leave you. For a moment, I couldn't hear anything. Not Lila's sharp inhale, not the hum of the refrigerator in Brianna's kitchen, not even my own pulse. Everything went silent. The kind of silence that comes right before a storm touches down and destroys everything in its path. He said, "What?" I whispered. Brianna's eyes glistened. She twisted her fingers together, guilt crawling up her throat. He told me he was leaving you, that y'all were basically done. He said the marriage was over and everything but paperwork. A laugh burst out of me, not a warm one, not a broken one, a laugh sharp enough to cut glass. He lied to you, I said. I know, she whispered. Malcolm leaned against the counter, arms folded, expression unreadable but razor sharp. When did he say that? He asked. A few months in, she murmured, then again 6 months ago, and then last week he said you didn't love him anymore. I raised an eyebrow. Interesting. I was home loving him every night while he was telling you fairy tales. Brianna wiped a tear. I swear, Aisha, I didn't know he was... Lila cut in. Girl, you knew he was married. Brianna flinched. Yes, but he said you were cold, distant. He said you barely spoke. I blinked slowly. I talked to him every day. He ignored me every day. That's not the same thing. Brianna's lips trembled. He said you didn't support his dreams. Lila scoffed so hard the windows almost rattled. His only dream was cheating. What support he need for that? But I focused on Brianna's face. She wasn't proud. She wasn't defiant. She wasn't cruel. She was broken too. Lied to. Used. Malcolm stepped forward. Tell us everything he told you. Spare nothing. Brianna nodded slowly, like she'd been waiting for permission to let the truth out. He said he was stressed, that he needed a break from the constant pressure, that you made him feel small. My mouth dropped open. Me? Lila barked. Oh, he practicing witchcraft now? Reversing reality like that? I shook my head. I cooked most nights. I kept the house together. I covered bills. I literally made his life easier. Brianna nodded quickly. He said all that too, but he twisted it. He said you did it to control him. Control? I repeated. He couldn't control his own zipper. Malcolm stifled a smirk. Brianna looked down. He told me things that made me feel sorry for him. That was the point, Malcolm said. Men like him groom sympathy first, then loyalty, then devotion, then money. Brianna swallowed hard. He said he wanted a baby with me. The room went dead still. What? I breathed. She nodded tearfully. He told me you didn't want another child. Lila threw her hands up. Oh, he has entered lunacy. I shook my head slowly. So let me get this straight. He was telling me he wasn't ready for another kid while telling you he couldn't wait? She nodded. And he was using my money to set you up for the life he wanted with you. She nodded again, smaller this time. It wasn't heartbreak anymore. It was insult, degradation, the kind of disrespect that rewires a woman permanently. Malcolm moved closer. What else? He promised me a future, Brianna whispered. Said once he left me, we'd move in together full time, get married. He even had plans. Lila sat forward sharply. What kind of plans? Brianna stood, walked into her bedroom, and returned holding a white envelope. She placed it on the table. When I opened it, my breath lodged in my throat. Inside was a vision board, pictures of houses, rings, babies, vacations, restaurants, cars, and one photo in the center. Carter, smiling in a selfie I had taken for him. I felt sick. You built this? I asked quietly. She shook her head. He did. Malcolm stepped closer. He made you a future he never intended to keep. But Brianna swallowed. There's more. My stomach tightened. What more? She hesitated. Brianna, Malcolm said, voice low. Tell us. She inhaled shakily. He said he wasn't cheating with only me. Lila jumped up. Excuse me? I froze. What do you mean? I demanded. She wiped her eyes. He said there were others, that he couldn't put all his eggs in one basket. My stomach twisted. And he told me, she whispered, one of them was someone close to you? The room spun. Malcolm straightened. Who? Brianna hesitated. And when she finally spoke, every hair on my body stood on end. He said the other woman's name is Tasha. Lila's jaw dropped. I felt my blood drain, my body go cold, my vision narrow. Tasha. My cousin, my closest friend growing up, my son's godmother. I gripped the edge of the chair as the world tilted, and in that moment, my heartbreak turned into something else entirely. Not pain, not sadness, not even revenge, but purpose.
Because now this wasn't just a betrayal, this was a conspiracy, and I was about to expose every last one of them.
Tasha? I repeated, barely recognizing my own voice. The room tilted, stretched, warped. My cousin, the girl I shared summers, secrets, birthdays with, the woman who sat in my living room smiling in my face, holding my son, hugging me like family meant safety, not sabotage. Layla's hand flew to her chest. Oh, hell no! Tasha? Brianna flinched. I didn't want to believe him, but he said her name more than once. My breathing turned shallow. Tasha? I whispered again. My cousin, Tasha? Brianna nodded. He said she was reliable. That's the word he used. Reliable. Like a bank account, like a spare tire, like a backup plan. Malcolm straightened, eyes sharpening to surgical precision. Aisha, when was the last time you spoke to Tasha? I swallowed hard. 2 nights ago, she called to wish me a happy early birthday. Layla's mouth dropped open. She wished you a happy birthday while she was sleeping with your husband? Boy, the devil working full time. I couldn't speak. My throat burned. My ears rang. Brianna twisted the hem of her robe between her fingers. He told me Tasha helped him with something big. A chill spread across my skin. Helped him with what? I don't know, she whispered. He said she understood him, that she wasn't emotional like you. Layla stepped toward her. Say that again? Brianna repeated it quieter. That she wasn't emotional like you. A laugh tore from my chest, bitter, ugly, the sound of betrayal cracking open another layer of bone. Not emotional? I had been holding together a household, a child, a marriage he treated like a discarded receipt. I had been surviving his failures. I had been doing the emotional labor he mistook for weakness. And while I carried everything, he praised another woman for feeling nothing. Malcolm cleared his throat. Aisha, we're adding Tasha to the witness list and possibly the co-conspirator list. I blinked. Co-conspirator? Yes, he said calmly, if she assisted him in obtaining your personal information, passwords, or access to documents, that is identity theft and fraud, even if she didn't know the full extent. Layla crossed her arms. Oh, she knew something. That girl been acting funny for months. I looked at her sharply. What do you mean? She hesitated. I didn't want to hurt you, sis, but Tasha been showing up to family stuff looking too expensive. Nails always fresh, hair laid every week, designer shoes, and last cookout, she pulled up in a new car. My mouth went dry. A new car? With your cousin's salary? Layla scoffed. Please. Brianna whispered. He said she was helping fund his escape plan. Malcolm frowned. Escape plan? My heart thudded painfully. What escape plan? Brianna hesitated again. To leave, to start over, to take money out under your name, then disappear until everything's settled. The world stopped spinning. He said, Brianna continued softly, that he didn't want to stay in the marriage anymore, but divorcing you would cost too much, that you'd take the house and half his income, and he'd rather disappear. Something inside me snapped. Malcolm's eyes flicked to me, analyzing my expression. Aisha, sit. I'm fine, I said, though my legs trembled. No, he said, voice firmer. Sit. Layla guided me to the sofa. My hands were shaking so hard the water bottle Malcolm handed me rattled like a warning. Brianna sniffed. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know he had someone else. I didn't know he was using me, too." I looked up at her. Really looked. She wasn't gloating. She wasn't proud. She wasn't smirking. She was scared, hurt, embarrassed, betrayed. Just like me. "What did he tell Tasha?" I asked softly. Brianna hesitated. "He said she was Plan B." Layla threw her hands up. "What was Plan A?" Brianna whispered. "Me." "And Plan C?" Malcolm asked calmly. Brianna looked down at her lap. "Another woman, someone from his job." My head fell back against the sofa. He was building an entire rotation, funded by me, inside the life I thought we shared. "He never loved either one of us," Brianna whispered. "He loved the attention, the control, the illusion." Malcolm nodded. "That tracks. Men like Carter build harems of vulnerability, needs, weaknesses. They take and take until everyone's dry." I exhaled a shaky breath. "So what do we do now?" "We call Tasha," Malcolm said. Layla perked up. "Oh, yes, let me get my popcorn." Brianna panicked. "She'll hang up. She doesn't like me." "She won't hang up," I said quietly. "Not when I'm the one calling." Malcolm pulled out a voice recorder. "I want this entire conversation logged. If she admits anything, it becomes leverage." I nodded. I tapped the name Tasha Yellow Cuz on my phone screen. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then her voice, sweet, bright, fake, filled the speaker. "Hey girl, I was just thinking about you." I stared at the wall, bile rising in my throat. "Tasha," I said, "we need to talk." "Oh, are you okay? How was your birthday? Did Carter surprise you? I know he had something planned." I cut her off. "Tasha, I know." Silence. "Tasha?" More silence. Then a trembling gasp. "Aisha, what do you mean?" I looked at Malcolm. He nodded. "I know about Brianna. I know about the apartment, the robe, the money, and I know about you." Layla clapped once, excited. Malcolm glared at her. She quieted. On the phone, Tasha stammered, "Aisha, please don't hate me." Layla screamed, "Oh, hell no!" Malcolm hit record harder. My eyes burned, but no tears came. Not anymore. "Why, Tasha?" I whispered. "Why would you do this to me?" Her voice cracked. "I told him he loved me." I laughed, a sound full of venom. "He told that to everyone." Then her voice dropped even lower. "Aisha, he told me something else, something I shouldn't have believed." "What?" "He told me you would never leave him." "And that," I said coldly, "is the last lie he will ever tell." Tasha sobbed into the phone. "Please don't do anything. Please don't tell the family." "Oh, I'm telling everyone," Layla shouted in the background. Malcolm hit Ray's hand. "Quiet." I ended the call mid-cry. Malcolm stepped forward. "That confession?" He smiled. "Pure gold." I stared at the window, watching sunlight spill across the floor. Brianna whispered, "What now?" I stood slowly. "We burn it down. Every lie, every secret, every woman, every theft." Then I picked up my phone, and the first person I'm calling is Carter's employer. Layla squealed, "Oh, it's getting juicy." Malcolm nodded approving. Let the downfall begin. Because Carter thought he broke me. All he did was sharpen me, and I was done playing the quiet, loyal wife. I was about to become his worst nightmare. Calling Carter's employer wasn't just spite, it was strategy, it was justice. It was the first domino in a collapse he never saw coming. I stood in Brianna's apartment, my finger hovering above the contact Malcolm had pulled up for me. Mr. Ellis, regional manager, a polished, hard-to-reach man who rarely answered anyone's calls except Carter's because Carter prided himself on being indispensable. That was before he used company resources to fund his double life. I pressed the call button. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Mr. Ellis speaking. His voice was crisp, professional, irritated to be disturbed. Perfect. "Good morning, Mr. Ellis," I said evenly. "This is Aisha King." A pause. "Aisha? Carter's wife?" "Soon-to-be ex-wife," I corrected, "and I have information relevant to your company's financial liability." Another pause, longer this time, sharper. My tone had sliced through his indifference. "I'm listening," he said. Malcolm gave me a subtle nod as I began. "Your employee Carter King has opened credit lines in my name, forged signatures, siphoned funds, and used company time and company vehicles to support multiple undisclosed personal relationships." I could hear the shift in Mr. Ellis's breathing. "What exactly are you alleging?" he asked. "I'm not alleging, I'm stating, and I have proof." Layla mouthed, "Go off, sis." Malcolm tapped the laptop screen, showing itemized logs. I continued. "He's been driving to non-work-related locations during billable hours. He's been using his company-issued laptop to create fraudulent financial documents. And," I let the sentence hang just long enough, "one of the women he's been supporting has been benefiting from funds that can be directly traced back to your expense accounts." Silence. Dangerous silence. Then, "Aisha," Mr. Ellis said slowly, "I need you to send me everything you have." Malcolm slid the compiled file onto my phone. I emailed it instantly. When the ding hit his inbox, Mr. Ellis inhaled sharply. "Oh my God!" I waited. This is criminal. This is theft. This violates every code of conduct. This could put the whole department at risk." "Correct," I said. He exhaled shakily. "Aisha, thank you for bringing this to me." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "You'll handle it from here?" "Oh, I'll handle it," he promised darkly. "Effective immediately." When the call ended, Brianna looked pale. "He's going to fire him." Layla cackled. "Oh, honey, they not just firing him. They about to set that man's career on fire." Malcolm smiled. "Phase 3 begins." I blinked. "Phase what?" He sat on the arm of the sofa. "Phase 1, safety. Phase 2, information. Phase 3, consequences." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed violently with notifications. 12 missed calls from Carter, 5 new voicemails, 3 texts in all caps, and then a new one came through as we watched. "Babe, you need to stop now." Layla snatched the phone from me. "Oh, he's scared." Another message popped up. "Aisha, answer me right now." Then, "We need to talk. Please don't do anything stupid." I raised an eyebrow. "I'm stupid now?" Malcolm smirked. "Funny how men who call you crazy suddenly become negotiators when you take their power away." One more ping. "You're ruining my life." Layla howled so loud Brianna jumped. Incorrect. He ruined his life. We just airing the episodes." But the next text, that one made all of us go still. "I know where you are." My skin froze. Malcolm stood instantly, posture changing, every muscle tight. "Did he say what I think he said?" he asked. I reread it, my fingers going cold. He did. Layla grabbed her purse. "He better not pull up here." Malcolm walked to the window calmly, checking the parking lot. "He's bluffing. He doesn't know this location."
He turned back to me. But he's panicking. That means his world outside this apartment is collapsing. As if on cue, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Malcolm said, "Answer it. Put it on speaker." I did. "Hello?" A shaky voice filled the room. "Aisha, it's Carter's boss." I asked what happened, though I could guess. "He just left the building, screaming. Security had to escort him. He's been terminated, permanently." A slow, consuming heat spread across my chest. Not joy, not triumph, just justice beginning to bloom. "He was yelling your name," Mr. Ellis continued, "shouting obscenities, blaming you. He stormed out of the parking lot like a madman." My stomach tightened. Did he say where he was going? No, but he's unstable. If you're somewhere safe, stay there. Malcolm stepped closer to the phone. She is. Good. He's not thinking clearly. The call ended, and the room fell into a heavy silence. Layla whispered, "This man is about to lose his entire mind." Brianna hugged herself. "He already did." Malcolm walked toward me, resting a steady hand on my shoulder. "Aisha, what comes next may get ugly. When a man like Carter loses control, he strikes out, but you're not alone, and you're not unprotected." I nodded slowly, but my body trembled because deep down I knew Malcolm was right. Losing his job was only the beginning. Carter wasn't going to disappear quietly. He was going to fight. Desperately, dangerously. And sure enough, as if summoned by the thought, my phone lit up again. A video message from Carter. My heart stopped. I pressed play. The screen filled with his face, red, furious, eyes wild. "Aisha, you think you've won? You think you can do this to me? I swear to God you're going to regret this." The screen shook. Something crashed in the background. "You want to ruin my life? Fine, watch how I ruin yours." The video cut abruptly. Layla gasped. Oh, he lost his entire mind. Brianna covered her mouth. "He's dangerous." Malcolm took the phone gently from my hand. "Aisha, part 4 begins now." I frowned. "What's part 4? He looked up, eyes dark with certainty. "We get the police involved before Carter does." Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. 3 sharp knocks. The whole room froze. Layla whispered, "Please tell me that's Amazon Prime." Malcolm stepped toward the peephole, then slowly exhaled. "It's the police." For the first time all day, I felt both terrified and relieved. "Aisha," Malcolm said, turning to me, "it's time to file the protective order." Because Carter's downfall wasn't just unfolding, it was accelerating. And revenge had only begun. The police officer stepped inside with calm, practiced movements, but my heart thundered like the ground itself had cracked open. My hands were still shaking from Carter's video message, his wild eyes, the spit flying from his mouth, the rage twisting his features into something unrecognizable. But Malcolm was steady. Layla was fierce. Brianna was frozen. And me? I was done being afraid. "Ma'am," one officer said, nodding respectfully, "we received a call about threatening behavior over a digital message. Could we review the video?" Malcolm handed him my phone. The officer watched it once, eyes narrowing. Watched it again, jaw tightening. Then looked at the second officer. "This is credible. And escalating." He turned to me. "Do you feel unsafe?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes." Malcolm placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "She'll be filing for an emergency protective order." The officer nodded. "Then let's get you started. Where's the child?" "In the bedroom," I said. "Good. He's safe. Now tell me everything."
I sat at the table as Layla rubbed my back and Malcolm organized documents. My voice was steady as I recounted every detail. The midnight return, the perfume, the clothes, the lies, the hidden women, the stolen identity, the threats. The officer listened without interrupting, typing rapidly into his tablet. This is more than domestic trouble. This is criminal behavior. Fraud, identity theft, harassment, threats of violence. Brianna swallowed, her voice small. He manipulated me too. He nodded sympathetically. If you wish to attach a statement, it will help. She nodded. I will. 20 minutes later, paperwork was printed. Signatures were inked. Statements filed. The officer handed me a copy of the emergency protective order. This goes into effect immediately. He cannot come within 500 feet of you or the child. If he tries, call us and we'll arrest him. I nodded, relief washing over me like warm water after standing in the cold. The officers left. The door clicked shut. Malcolm exhaled. Aisha, it's officially done. But it wasn't. Not yet. Because revenge isn't paperwork. Revenge is closure. Real closure. Over the next 2 weeks, everything unfolded, faster than even Malcolm predicted. Carter spiraled. He was fired. His savings froze. His car was repossessed. His credit tanked. The fraud investigation escalated. And the real twist? Tasha turned on him. After Malcolm submitted her recorded confession, she panicked and told the police everything she knew, how Carter used my personal information, how he bragged about getting money from my accounts, how he manipulated Brianna and 2 other women. Tasha even gave them screenshots I had never seen. Him mocking me, him plotting, him laughing about how Aisha ain't going nowhere. But the truth? I was already gone. The police added her testimony to the case file. Carter's charges multiplied, and the prosecutor called me personally to say thank you. Aisha, your courage is the reason this case will succeed. I hung up and just breathed. For the first time in years, my breath didn't feel trapped behind a cage. The final blow came a week later. Carter violated the protective order. He showed up outside the townhouse, screaming my name, calling me every insult in the dictionary and a few he probably invented. He pounded the door until Malcolm calmly called the police. Carter was arrested on sight, and this time, no bail. The officer who'd taken my statement called me afterwards. He's not getting out anytime soon. You're safe. Safe. A word I hadn't felt in so long I almost didn't recognize it. 3 months later, I stood in a bright, airy boutique space smelling of fresh paint and possibility. Sunlight poured through tall windows. My son played quietly in the corner with building blocks. A gold sign hung over the counter. Aisha & Co., Personal Empowerment Studio. Life coaching, healing workshops, women's support circles. The business wasn't about Carter. It wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding the women I used to resemble. Women who had been dimmed, used, erased. Women who needed a place to ignite again. Layla hugged me from behind. "Look at you," she whispered. "You turned a tragedy into an empire." Malcolm stood beside the window, arms crossed. "Told you, Phase 4 was yours to define." I smiled softly. "And Phase 5? He raised a brow. "What's Phase 5? I gestured around the studio. "Living." He nodded. "Good choice." Brianna stepped inside a moment later, hesitant but healing. She wasn't the enemy. She was another victim of a man who thrived on chaos. She joined one of my workshops for rebuilding confidence. She was doing the work. We all were. My son tugged my sleeve. "Mommy?" "Yes, baby." "Is Daddy gone forever?" I knelt.
Daddy made choices that hurt people, and when grown-ups make choices like that, sometimes they have to go away for a while. He nodded, accepting the truth with a child's calm wisdom. "Do you miss him?" I asked gently. He shook his head. "I like you better when you smile." My breath caught. I hugged him tightly. Then I stood beneath my golden sign. My space, my life, my rebirth. Carter's downfall wasn't about destruction. It was about liberation. Mine. And as I looked out at the world through tall glass windows, sunlight warming my chest, I spoke the final truth of my journey aloud. I didn't lose anything. I reclaimed everything. I turned to Malcolm, Layla, Brianna, my son, my circle, my peace, and smiled. I'm finally free. If you learned something new from my life story, please like this video, subscribe to join our community for more stories like mine, and comment down below where you're watching this video from. I'd truly love to know.